I'm Ken Ehrman, and I've been with CNC Software for 22 years now. Currently, I'm the product owner for the design team, and we have two primary focuses. Obviously, we work on the CAD, the straight CAD parts, solids, surfaces, wireframe, but we also spend a lot of time in what we call CAD for CAM, and we develop utilities that support the other toolpath groups just to make their work easier. Edit Surface is a new function in Mastercam 2019, and with it, it gives the users a graphical way to visualize how a surface is constructed, but to also edit the surface. So we have access to the ISO curves, we have access to the node points, to the control points, and we can get in there and tweak those things, create organic shapes, or even find problem areas visually and solve them for the user. Another powerful function I'd like to mention for Mastercam 2019 is Power Surface. And this new tool is an excellent way to repair surface models or solid models. A lot of our users import their data, and sometimes there's gaps. Sometimes there's missing faces, missing surfaces. The Power Surface function allows us to get in there and use the surrounding surfaces and faces and to be able to create a new surface over top of those missing areas and blend it in very nicely to create a good surface model or even a closed solid model. For Mastercam 2019, we added the ability to automatically find the best construction plane to orient the bounding box around the part that you selected. There's several different options, and they work out very nicely. And again, this is one of these CAD for CAM functions that are aimed at getting that model ready for machining. In Mastercam 2019, we've introduced the new solid hole function. And this is a good step forward for us. It really simplifies what the user needs to do to create holes in a solid. Not just simple straight holes, but counterbores, countersinks, counter drills, even tapered holes. Whether you want a through hole, a blind hole, what the end condition is, or even a chamfer at the top. All of this is handled in a very simple interface that you just enter in parameters. On top of that, you can create your own favorites. And so we ship solid hole with a whole set of presets with standard drill sizes for both inch and metric.
In Mastercam 2019, you can identify and create edge curves on a Mastercam mesh entity using Curve One Edge and Curve All Edges. Each function panel now has a mesh edge angle control. Use this control to specify what determines a sharp angle, with valid values being between 1 and 90 degrees. As you lower the mesh edge angle value, Mastercam identifies more of the part's edges. If you lower the mesh edge angle too far, Mastercam begins to identify too many part elements as edges. Raising the mesh edge angle value has the reverse effect, causing Mastercam to ignore some edges because the angle between the faces exceeds the angle you set. Setting mesh edge angle to the best value for your part gives you an accurate set of edges. After clicking OK in the function panel, see the full results by selecting the wireframe view. Also in Mastercam 2019, AutoCursor mode now recognizes the endpoints of Mastercam mesh vertices. AutoCursor can recognize all mesh vertices or only those that reside along mesh edges. In Mastercam 2018, AutoCursor did not recognize mesh vertices, so trying to draw geometry on a mesh gave unpredictable results. In Mastercam 2019, AutoCursor can identify mesh vertices, so you can more accurately draw curves that are attached to the mesh at the correct location. By switching to wireframe mode and zooming in on the newly drawn curve, you can see the vertices to which the spline is attached. For even better control, use the AutoCursor Settings dialog box to control mesh vertex selection. choose to have Auto Cursor recognize no mesh vertices, all mesh vertices, or just those along the edges. Mastercam 2019's ability to recognize and use mesh vertices gives you a powerful toolbox for CAD creation, dimensioning, and more. The new solid hole function eliminates the need to draw and extrude from wireframe geometry to generate holes in your part. Select the function from the Solids tab. Choose the top of the hole locations and press Enter to create holes. The function immediately creates holes according to the parameters set in the function panel. In this case, we see the system defaults. Use the panel options to modify the hole settings. Set the depth of the hole and select from 5 different hole styles: simple holes, counter bores, counter sinks, counter drills, and taper holes. We will make these 2 holes simple holes with a 1/2 inch diameter and have them extend entirely through the target body. The solid hole function includes multiple categories of commonly used hole dimensions. In this demonstration, we will start with a 6 mm cap screw from the metric version of the socket head cap screws category. To quickly find a preset hole, filter by unit and start typing in the search field. Note that even though we have applied a hole from the metric category, Mastercam converts the dimensions to inches, our current unit of measurement. We can customize this hole and save it to our own library so we can reuse it. Name your operations to more easily recognize them in the Solids Manager. All hole operations are displayed in the Solids Manager history tree and can be edited from there. Right-click the operation in the Solids history tree and select Edit Parameters from the menu. Click the Reselect All button and set the Quick Mask to only arcs. Using the Quick Mask lets us select the center points of all of the arcs at once. After you pick the hole positions, press Enter to modify the parameters in the panel. The OK and Regenerate button automatically regenerates the operations in the Solids history tree. By default, the hole function creates holes on the top of the current construction plane, but you can change the orientation of the holes. Here, we will align holes to a selected face. When we pick a reference to align to, the panel displays the change in orientation. Now we can choose our points and create holes that will align to the face we selected. We will create these holes with a preset from the custom library. We can also align holes to a vector. We will use the same holes that we used in the previous operation. Another method we can use to align our holes is to create a new plane with Mastercam's dynamic gnomon. Place the gnomon on a face and align it to the desired direction. In the new plane panel, name the plane. Notice how the plane orientation confirms that we are placing the holes on the plane we created in the new plane panel. Now, we can create our holes. We will use the same holes that we used in the previous 2 operations. Of course, you can easily align holes to system planes and previously named planes. This makes it easy to add holes to the bottom of our part. Simply choose the plane, pick the positions, and set the dimensions. Create and edit holes easily with the new solid hole function in Mastercam 2019. In Mastercam 2019, we have added 3 functions to the Model Prep tab: Align to Plane, Align to Face, and Align to Z. With Align to Plane, you can quickly prepare a solid body for machining by positioning it in line with a specific plane. Simply choose the top face and an edge on the solid that you want to align. In this demonstration, we will align the bottom front edge of the stamp to the top plane so that it aligns to the table. Once you have selected the top face and edge of the solid, select the Transform to Plane option in the Function panel and choose the plane. The preview lets you see how the stamp will align to the table. Select from one of the 10 origin points to anchor your solid. In this demonstration, we will use this origin to center the bottom of the stamp to the top of the table. To save the transformation, click OK. If you need to include additional geometry when transforming a solid to a plane, use the Additional Geometry option to select wireframe and other entities. In this example, we will include wireframe geometry when we move the solid. Follow the same selection procedure to select the solid, and then click Select to return to the graphics window for the additional geometry. We will use a quick mask to quickly select the wireframe. Click OK to finish the transformation. The Align to Plane function makes it easy to create a new working coordinate system from a solid, so you can align solids to entities that must remain in a particular orientation. This time, we will first create a custom WCS from the solid and set its origin at the bottom center of the part. In a new operation, we will align the table to the new WCS. Select the top face and the front edge of the machine table. Select the Transform to Plane option to align the table to the WCS you just created. Set the origin so the preview shows that the table is appropriately positioned. Click OK to finish the transformation. Align to Face is a renamed and more powerful version of the Position function, which was introduced in Mastercam X9. As in the previous version of this function, you can still easily mate the selected faces of 2 solids, like we see here. The latest version of Align to Face now lets you not only mate faces, but also quickly align the edges of the solids that you mate. In this demonstration, we will align an edge of the solid we are moving so that it is parallel to another selected edge on our target body. After selecting the face on the solid that will be moved, Mastercam prompts you to create a reference edge. Notice how the x-axis of the gnomon aligns to this reference edge. In a similar fashion, Mastercam prompts you to select a face and then a reference edge on the target body. The preview lets you see how the reference edges will align parallel to each other when the selected faces are mated. Click OK to finish the transformation. Previously known as Align Solid Body, You can now find the Align to Z function on both the Turning tab and in the Model Prep tab in the Layout group. Continue to use this function to move or align a solid body to the Z-axis of a selected C-plane. Select a cylindrical face or an edge of a solid body and either create a custom WCS or transform the solid body to the Z-axis of a selected plane, like we do here. In this case, we will need to reverse the Z orientation of the solid. Align to Z is particularly useful when mounting a solid into a lathe chuck. New in Mastercam 2019 is the ability to select additional entities to move with the solid. If you need to include additional geometry along with the solid, use the Additional Geometry option to select wireframe and other entities. In this example, we will include wireframe geometry when we move the solid. Follow the same selection procedure to select the solid, and then click Select to return to the graphics window for the additional geometry. Use a quick mask to quickly select the wireframe. Click OK to complete the transformation. The new Align functions in the Model Prep tab, Align to Plane, Align to Face, and Align to Z, help you easily and accurately transform your solids. Power Surface is a new tool in Mastercam 2019 that lets you easily create surfaces from curves and quickly fill gaps with properly shaped surfaces. After you select Power Surface on the Surfaces tab, you select the curves needed to create a new surface. You then use the Power Surface function panel to further edit the surface. Use the Surface Settings options to modify the created surface. For example, Use Normals controls the shape of the surface based on the selected option. By changing Use Normals to C-plane, the created surface will be normal to the active construction plane, instead of using the normal vectors of the surrounding surfaces. The results of the surface for both Use Normal options may not match the surface you intended to create. You can use geometry to help constrain and limit the resulting surface. The selected top chain limits how much the surface may expand from the selected geometry. You can use Trim Inner to trim the created surface inside the selected curves to create a hole in the surface. Use the Draw settings to change how the surface looks in the graphics window. You can change the settings to display the points in the created surface, or you can display the vectors. The Results section displays information about the created surface. You cannot edit these parameters. Select Calculate to view the standard deviation, average error, and maximum error. These values help ensure that an accurate surface is constructed. Chain Settings gives you additional control over the creation of the surface. These options are helpful when working on very large or very small parts. For example, you can change the maximum number of control points that will display on the selected chains by changing the Max Num Points parameter. Power Surface lets you easily create surfaces from curves that are influenced by the adjoining surfaces. Mastercam 2019's Model Prep Whole Axis feature includes a number of enhancements based on usability feedback from Mastercam users. You can now create spot drill vectors that start at the top of the holes and extend outward to prepare for spot drilling operations. In earlier Mastercam versions, you could only create vectors within the hole itself. To prepare for a spot drill operation, every vector had to be manually modified. To use this new feature, choose Spot Drill and set a vector length of 0.25. Another new feature in Mastercam 2019 is the ability to include or exclude tapered holes from your selection. By default, this option is selected. You can further limit tapered hole selection to only those holes that share the same taper angle. To do this, hold down the Control key and then click one of the larger tapered holes. Mastercam selects all holes that share the same taper angle and displays the tapered angle in the graphics window. In this example, it is 41 degrees. Hold down the Control key and click one of the smaller tapered holes. This adds all the remaining tapered holes to the selection. To place points at the bottom of the spot drill axis lines, change the point's location from top to bottom. Circle geometry is not needed, so click to clear the circles checkbox. You can use the Advanced tab to give new geometry a different color or to save it to a different level. This can help distinguish the whole axis geometry from other geometry created on the same holes. Select the New Attributes checkbox and click the Level button. In the Select Level dialog, choose Level 10, created in advance for the spot drill geometry, and click OK. Mastercam will place the new point and vector geometry for the spot drills on Level 10. The new geometry will be blue as shown. Click the OK and Create New Operation button. This creates the spot drill points and axis lines for the selected tapered holes without exiting the function. Use the Levels Manager to set the active level to 3 and turn off the display of level 10. Return to the Hole Axis function. In the Advanced tab, click the New Attributes Select Color button. In the Colors dialog box, change the color to green and click OK to save your change and exit. In the Advanced tab Level field, type in Level 20. Now, any new hole geometry created will be green and saved to level 20, even though your active level is 3. Now click the Basic tab. Change the type to Hole to create drill holes. To exclude tapered holes from the selection, click the checkbox to clear it. Mastercam 2019 also adds a new All Holes button to the Hole Axis function. This makes it easy to select all holes in a model with a single click. Click this button to select all holes. Mastercam does not select any of the tapered holes because they were excluded. Click Circles to create circle geometry in addition to points and axis lines for the selected holes. Change the graphics window display to dimmed and preview the new hole geometry. Click OK to accept your settings and exit the function. Your new hole geometry displays in the graphics window. In the Levels Manager, notice how the new hole geometry is on level 20. Turn on the display of level 10 to also view the spot drill geometry created earlier for the tapered holes. The Hole Axis features added in Mastercam 2019 makes it easier than ever to quickly create hole geometry in solid models for drilling operations. New orientation options in Bounding Box mean that you are no longer limited to creating a bounding box in the current construction plane. You can now choose to automatically align your bounding box to one of the 4 options in the function panel listed under Orientation. The construction plane option aligns the bounding box to the current construction plane. This is the default selection. Select the Auto option to align the bounding box to the largest, flattest face of the selected solid. The Face option aligns the bounding box to any face that you select on the solid. Or, choose the Manual option to display the dynamic gnomon and align the bounding box to a selected reference. With Mastercam's new bounding box options, the selected geometry is used to orient the bounding box to the best possible fit. You now have increased flexibility based on the geometry itself, without the need to create a construction plane. Mastercam's new Edit Surface function lets you modify the topology of a surface with intuitive visual controls. In this video, we will see how easy it is to duplicate the thumb grip of this steering wheel with Edit Surface. To make our work easier to visualize, we will focus on two surfaces that were extracted from the solid. We will also turn on some flow lines we have created to help guide us. Open Edit Surface on the Surface tab and choose the surface you wish to work on. The function displays the isocurves and node points on the selected surface. The gnomon can travel anywhere on the surface, but it snaps to the isocurves and the node points. Click on an isocurve to lock the gnomon to that isocurve. Mastercam will automatically display a temporary autocursor point to indicate the midpoint of the surface, a flow line, or between two nodes. Click again to create an isocurve in another direction. Press Enter to confirm the change and free the gnomon. Adding isocurves and node points increases your control of the surface. The patch we have created here will limit the modification to a certain area. To manipulate the surface, snap the gnomon to a node point and drag or rotate it. In our example, we will drag it along the Z-axis. Press Enter to accept the change. If you are unhappy with the result, you can undo the action by pressing Ctrl-Z. Use the options on the Advanced tab to help you visualize the curvature of the surface. You can modify the surface along any axis on the gnomon. Here, we will smooth the abruptness of this curve by editing the surface along the Y-axis. Edit Surface makes it easy to create organic shapes on your surfaces. Explore these capabilities in Mastercam 2019.